friends, it's Josh, and this is a little bit different episode of the Treasures of Our Town podcast, as you can probably tell, because it is just me, all solo. I'm all by myself. There might be more singing in this episode because Craig is not here. And you might be thinking, oh no, why is my favorite Aussie not on the Treasures of Our Town podcast? Well, he has a little bit of a delay. You know, we do our delays and upgrades. And so here's the delay. Apparently, Craig's Starlink, which is the thing that helps him get internet to his homestead, apparently that went down and he is waiting for a replacement of his internet access. So it's pretty difficult to do a podcast where people are in different locations and not have the internet. So for this week, you just get me. The production level is probably way worse because Craig's the tech guy of this podcast. So I'm just sitting here with my microphone and the good old GarageBand attempting to give something to you guys. You can't go 2 weeks without Craig and Josh, right? So you're going to get half of it. And that's just an episode with me talking to myself, which is actually a pretty challenging thing. I think this is the first time ever that this podcast has had only one voice on it because I'm all by myself. But regardless, we're going to continue on upgrades and delays. My delay is that Craig is not here. That is my delay. I'm bummed about that. Love to talk to him. And one of the great things about this podcast is that it disciplines you to essentially talk to your friends. Talk to my friend Craig. So that's my downgrade. That's my delay. Is that Craig is not here. My upgrade is that here in Minnesota, I'm about to talk about the weather now. But you know, I don't typically talk about the weather, but it is so beautiful. It is dry, sunny, beautiful day in late August. And I can feel it. I can feel the fall starting to sneak its way here in Minnesota. And fall is the best time of year, I think, in Minnesota. If Craig was here, he would be calling it autumn, not fall. Or he would mock me by saying fall. I don't think I say fall that way. But I'm going to say autumn for him, because if he was here, he would say autumn. And so, for this episode, it is not going to be probably as long as it usually is, because I've got nobody to bounce off my thoughts with. I have nobody to ask questions or follow-ups because I'm all by myself. That's probably the fourth time I've done that. I need to stop doing that. But 2 weeks ago, I just got back from West Bend, Wisconsin, which is the home of the $1,000 West Bend Cashback Bash. And so this is a little travel report from that event. And because I just talked about it just a little bit, and I thought, oh, what could I talk about by myself? I could talk about something I experienced without Craig. Craig was with me there last year. And this year, it was Minnesota Boy. And so I'm going to talk about the West Bend Cashback Bash. I'm struggling with that word bash. And what keeps bringing me back year after year? This is my third year in a row attending, but I have attended this event years ago, and then there was a little bit of a gap. This is a really busy time of year for me in my day job because I am the director of training of my company, and I'm training all the new people in the month of August. So sometimes I cannot always make it to the West Bend Cash Bash, but I did this time. I did it again for the third year in a row. It is only about a 5.5 hour drive for me. So this is the closest mega to me from my home residence, which is, of course, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Well, that was different this year because Moga was in Des Moines, which is 4 hours away. So it is not the closest mega to me this year, but typically it is the closest mega to me. And I have visited West Bend several times, obviously with the Cash Bash, but actually I've also spent a long weekend there because it is a great geo destination. It is a great geocaching destination, even if you don't want to go to or can't go to the $1,000 West Bend Cash Bash. West Bend has branded itself the geocaching capital of the Midwest. They advertise 1,200 geocaches within 10 miles. So, friends, this is a legitimate destination for geocachers. So, 2026, it was the 18th annual event. They hold the event at Regner Park. But let's be honest, the event really isn't in Regner Park. The final, that's the home base, and that is where they end the event. But this, friends, is a geocaching event because every year they put out 66 to 50. This year was 50 brand new geocaches for the event. And the goal is to find as many as possible. I believe for every 7 caches that you find of the new caches, you get a raffle ticket for the prizes at the end of the event. So the more caches you find, the more chances you have to win prizes. And they had some great prizes this year. So that was really great. But also you can win money. I can't think of any other geocaching event where you can actually win money. But the West Bend Cash Bash, you can. The $1,000 West Bend Cash Bash. The total raffle amount is $1,000. The grand prize is $500, and then $250, and then $100, and then $100, and then $50. And it's so funny. Every year when I go, I joke that I am going to the West Bend Cash Bash to lose the bash. But I really don't lose because I have such a great time. And this year was no exception. Every year they have a theme. And this year's theme was all things Wisconsin. All things Wisconsin. So we're talking about, what are we talking about? The Green Bay Packers. We're talking about the Brewers, the Milwaukee Bucks. We're talking about the Hodag, which is like this mythical Wisconsin creature. All the geocaches were themed Wisconsin theme. And so that was a lot of fun, although a little tough for me because I actually lived in Wisconsin for 2 years, or for 8 years of my life as a child. So I have somewhat of a connection to Wisconsin, but I've lived in Minnesota most of my life. And if you don't know, if you're not from the upper Midwest here, Wisconsin and Minnesota are pretty big rivals, especially when it comes to NFL football, especially when it comes to Vikings versus the Packers. But the theme this year was all things Wisconsin. Oh, there was a cheese cache in Wisconsin, the land of cheese. There was a cow cache, and we'll talk a little bit. I'm all alone because I'm all by myself. I'll talk a little bit about some of the fun caches that I found. But it is a free mega event. You don't have to pay anything, of course. Just with any geocaching event, there is, packages and coins and all that good stuff. But when you arrive there, when you check in, they give you this for free, this really, one of those drawstring bags, and it has the logo of the event on it, and it's filled with goodies, filled with coupons and things to support the West Bend area. And this event is all put together, it's organized by the West Bend Chamber of Commerce, as they have named themselves and dubbed themselves the geocaching capital of the Midwest. But what really makes this geocaching event amazing are the hiders. They have a collection of, I think, 15 to 16 hiders, and you can tell that they all are very thoughtful on the theme, and they have a great group of hiders. And so just a big special shout out to those hiders, because the caches, every single one is creative. A lot of times they're cute. A lot of times they're gadget caches, but It's so fun to see the minds of these hiders as they try to do a good job with the theme. So this year there were 50 new geocaches that were placed, and they went live. I believe they go live at noon on the Friday. Unfortunately, I had to work that Friday, so Minnesota Boy and I were not able to leave until after work on Friday, which means we had all day Saturday to find these geocaches. And I would like to say we had time to find, I think we did pretty good. We found 35 of the 50. So there's still 15 out there that we did not find. But it's not just geocaching. There were adventure labs, there were vendors, Cache Bees, Cache Supplies was there. We had Wooden and Nickel Geocoin, a former sponsor of the Geocaching Vlogger. They've made some wooden coins for me in the past. And then the Space Coast Geocaching store was up here. They made quite a haul. They're from Florida, so they came all the way up for this event. So, again, the angle of this is that you can leave this event. You can win big money. Show me the money. You can win big money and you can become $500 richer, which, spoiler alert, I did not. It's so funny too when they announce the cash prizes. A lot of times it's children that win, which is really fun. But one of the things that's cool is when they give out the money at the very end, they have like the gigantic checks, which is an awesome photo op. I just want to hold a giant check someday in my life. That'd be pretty cool to be able to hold a giant check. So I'm going to put that out in the universe. I'm going to manifest that I someday will get to hold a gigantic check. It doesn't even have to be for a lot of money. It'd be funny to be a $1 check. It was so funny. I just found, this is kind of a rabbit trail. I just saw something on social media where a guy in Iowa won a $1 scratch ticket. And so then he went to the Iowa lottery office and he wanted to hold a giant check for $1 and get his picture taken. I thought that was pretty funny. So, all right, let's go through the weekend. Basically, the weekend was this. It was travel there, stay at Airbnb, geocache all day with Minnesota Boy. Made quite a few pieces of content that is slowly coming out on Instagram and TikTok and my YouTube channel. Mostly doing shorts because there's just so many great caches, so many cute caches. So I left work on Friday about 5 o'clock, drove to Minnesota Boy's house. Minnesota Boy drove. What a nice guy. But also, he wouldn't have it any other way because he gets a little bit of car sick. So he actually quite enjoys or needs to actually drive. So we made our way, beelined it over to West Bend. 94. Interstate 94. Not my favorite road to be on. But had some good conversation. We stopped at the old Quick Trip. Speaking of Wisconsin, Quick Trip, it is probably the best gas station in the state of Wisconsin. I'd like a good stop at a Quick Trip. And actually, keep that in your mind because there was a really cool Quick Trip themed geocache, which was actually one of my favorites. And I'll get to that a little bit. But West Bend, I don't know. I should know this information. I don't know what the population of West Bend is. I'm thinking it is like, it feels like it's like 15,000 maybe. So it's not tiny, and it has a lot to offer. One of the highlights of the city is Regner Park. Regner Park, it is they hold this event in a beautiful park. There's just like this giant splash pad there. There's a video, I think, years ago where I actually went swimming in that splash pad because I think there was an adventure lab in the middle of the splash pad or the middle of the swimming area. The downtown area of West Bend is quaint with nice little restaurants. There's a beautiful like marquee that says West Bend. I've eaten at many of a local restaurant. They have a bar there. I don't know if the bar is still there, but get this. There's a bar there called Muggles. And you gotta go to Muggles someday. I have an old video of me going to Muggles and like getting kicked out of Muggles because I'm a geocacher. And like, because, the bar is only for the Muggles, not for the geocaches. But anyway, it's a beautiful little town that fully supports geocaching. I mean, they've been doing this event for 18 years. And here's one of the things that really, we always talk about, the geocaching community is aging, which it is actually, it is aging. But this event feels a little bit different because we do see quite a few young families with young kids doing this event because they've been doing this event so long in this community. And I think there are actually local people that decide like this is their weekend to geocache. Like they're not geocaching, hardcore for the whole year, but they know when the cache bash is happening and they make it a day for them, for their family to go geocaching, which means there's more young families and more young people than your normal mega event because they have built such a great tradition here in West Bend. I would visit West Bend even without the cache bash because here's one of the things. All these caches, 18 years of this event means that every year there's fresh new caches. So there's caches that have been the really well done ones from other years, other themes that have stick around. So they don't typically archive all the caches from previous years. They keep some of them. Of course, they archive some because they're going to run out of room basically. But the really good ones they keep. So you could come to West Bend anytime and still experience a lot of great geocaching because they keep some of those caches active, which is really cool. But the nice thing about the cache bash is those 50 new ones that come out, they are pristine. They're in such great shape because they're brand new. And that's one of the reasons especially for the last 3 years, I've enjoyed coming to the cache bash because it's pristine geocaching. So, if you come, the city has quite a bit to offer in restaurants and all good things. So even if your spouse or your partner, your friend doesn't geocache, I think they could still have a lot of fun for a nice weekend in West Bend. So let's talk about the experience. Again, great caches. Let me talk about a couple of my favorite geocaches, and I know I won't spoil it, but talk about some of the themes. I found a geocache that you opened up. I opened it up, and the inside of it there were just boxes, and on the outside of the boxes was different kinds of cheeses. And here in Wisconsin, there's a lot of cheese shops, and so this was basically a geocache that was like a geocaching cheese shop, which was kind of fun. And they had all kinds of different cheeses, and each box had swag in it, but only one, of course, had the logbook. So I've seen that strategy hide before, but it was really clever to have it be all about cheese. One of my favorites was a multi-cache that was themed on the gas station Quick Trip, which is obviously a popular geocache, popular gas station. That's the word I'm looking for. And so it was a multi-cache. And the first one, a lot of people stop at gas stations for the bathrooms, and Quick Trip is known for their clean, I'll say clean-ish bathrooms. So the first one was basically a bathroom toilet that gave you the coordinates to the next location, which ended up being a gas pump. And it was a gas pump gadget cache. And it was so well done, and it just made me smile. There was also a very well-constructed cache that was the Hodag, which is a mythical creature, kind of a monster-like creature here in Wisconsin, or there in Wisconsin. That was really adorable. Let me think of other ones that we experienced. Yeah, there was one where I had to milk a cow, which is something I've done in Hanover, Germany. So I had some experience milking a geocache. So that was really great. But yeah, I found about 35, 36 of them. And each geocache, there's a stamp there or there's a code so that you put it on your card. So when you turn it in, you have proof that you have found them. Now, Minnesota Boy and we arrived on Saturday. We didn't want to waste any time. We wanted to just start geocaching, and we really didn't care about the prizes, but I did actually care about the cash prize. Everybody that registers gets one ticket to win the money. So the money ticket has nothing to do with the amount of geocaches that you found. That was only for the prizes. So that was great. Some people that I ran into, of course, you run into some of the same people year after year. I ran into our friend Hailmeister from Geocaching with Hailmeister, got to see him. I got to meet for the first time some newish geocaching YouTubers, young people in their 20s. How cool is that? A little bit of anomaly. Their name is Mitch and Becca, and I got to meet them for the first time. I'd been watching some of their videos. They're Wisconsin based. I think they live somewhere near the Wisconsin Dells area, which we've had conversation about the Wisconsin Dells here on this podcast. And they they're putting out some really high quality geocaching videos. So shout out to them. Check out Mitch and Becca. And I got to have dinner with them. We went to my favorite chain. Now, I want to encourage y'all. If you're in a new area, support local. But West Bend, they do have a Texas Roadhouse. And you know how much I love the Roadhouse. Minnesota Boy actually loves the Roadhouse as well. Unfortunately, we were not able to sit in Willie's Corner, which is the corner of the restaurant dedicated to Willie Nelson. Every single Texas Roadhouse has a Willie's Corner. Couldn't sit there. But got in right away, had my steak. We just had some great conversation with Mitch and Becca, as well as Hailmeister was there as well. And here's another thing that's fun too, is this event has been going on for a long time. I think my first one I went was maybe, I want to say 12 years ago, 13 years ago. And so there were some individuals in their early 20s that had met me when they were children, which makes me feel old and makes me realize how long I've been doing the vlogging. And so a 20-something person came up to me and said, "Do you recognize me?" And actually I did recognize them, but I remember them when they were like 8 years old. So that's crazy. The geocaching community's growing up, and it is fun to see, somebody that was 8 years old geocaching with their parents, and they're still out there geocaching with their parents. It was just kind of fun to see. Another thing that was cool is that this was the first time that I got to experience giving out my shareables, which is the digital sort of artwork that you can give to people in person, or you can give to caches that you find. So I gave a lot of my, the geocaching vlogger found your geocache shareable to, I think, pretty much all the hiders, because the caches were so good. But then for the very first time, I got to give out, well, not the first time, because I gave my first ones in person to Minnesota Boy, but I got to trade and give some shareables to some people that were at the event, which was really cool. So if you were there, thanks so much for trading shareables with me. That was really, really neat. So the energy at Regner Park is great. It was well attended. I mean, I think by the look of the group picture, I would say maybe 700, 800 people there. Not sure. Not everybody was there for the photo, but it was great. And they're going to continue on. Next year is going to be year 19. It's really good, really well organized. It's so cool that the Chamber of Commerce of West Bend really embraces this event as well. So I would recommend that if you're near the Milwaukee area, so West Bend is about 35 minutes north of Milwaukee, recommend that you make your way up there. It's worth the stop. It's worth the long weekend. If you want to experience the whole event, you should. A lot of people arrive there Thursday night so they can get a full day of caching in Friday. It's pretty difficult to get all 50 caches in one day. The one thing is that's tricky is that my experience is at West Bend, they really crank up the hotel prices. Like one night in an average hotel was $200. So Minnesota Boy and I shared an Airbnb about 30 minutes away, which was a good idea. And this Airbnb was nice because I like a good Airbnb with a lot of fun. It had air hockey, it had a pool table. And so, yeah, Airbnb is the way to go. I would get ahead of that because the Airbnb hosts don't know that there is an amazing geocaching event happening. So they're not going to crank up their prices for that. So look now. I think you can book an Airbnb out a year in advance if people have opened it up to them. So I would suggest Airbnb. Some people camp, or, maybe get ahead of it and try to get that whole hotel room. So it's good. It's great for newer cachers. It's great for families. It was a lot of fun, and it's a beautiful area outside. It's not just the caches aren't just in West Bend proper. There's some smaller towns on the outside. As you can imagine, there's caches everywhere. We're talking 1,200 caches. That's a lot of caches in 12, 15 mile area. Also, you should know, about 15 miles away from West Bend is GC3, B as in boy, 1. It's about 15 miles away, and that is Wisconsin's oldest active geocache. So there's another reason to be in that area, because the oldest geocache is there as well. So it was a good time. It was a good event with Minnesota Boy, and I will go again. But Sunday morning, Minnesota Boy and I did something very special, something that we talk about a lot here. You all know my favorite cheap beer is Miller High Life, because it is the champagne of beers. And so I looked at Minnesota Boy the night after the Cache Bash. I think we were driving back to our Airbnb, and I was like, "Hey, Tim, I have always wanted to tour and visit the Miller Beer Brewing Company brewery tour." And I looked on the website and I noticed they were having Sunday tours, and Tim was all for that. And so Sunday morning, we did not do any geocaching, although we did, because there is a geocache actually right at the Miller Brewery tour. It's a very old one, actually. It's sort of been grandfathered in. But we decided to do the Miller, I'm going to call it the Miller High Life tour, which was a really good tour. I think it was about $25 a piece. And we got 4, count them, 1, 2, 3. We got 4 drinks, 1 before the tour, 2 during the tour, and 1 after the tour. The gift shop was amazing, had all kinds of Miller High Life merch. There was something there that I kind of regret getting, but it was a little bit expensive. You guys, if you listen to this podcast, or if you watch my YouTube channel, you know I love vinyl records. Vinyl records is kind of like my other hobby. Get this. They have a vinyl record that is filled with real Miller High Life. It's a record filled with beer. And I thought they were sold out, and they had them there, but they were $85. So I held back, and I did not get the Miller High Life record. But if any of you are listening and thinking, boy, Josh's 50th birthday is coming up in a little over a year, and you want to get me a gift, the Miller High Life dive bar record that is filled with beer, that would be a really cool gift. I'm just putting it out there. I'm just putting it out in the universe. But the tour was great. We got to go in the caves where they used to store the beer, and there was a hologram in the tour. It was a really well done tour. It was a lot of fun, and I don't know. I like to see the behind the scenes stuff. It's kind of like, when I was a kid and I watched Mr. Rogers, and you watch how crayons are being made. It was really cool to see how the beer was being made. Although it was pretty quiet because it was a Sunday that we did the tour. So that was another fun thing. And we got a smiley for it too. There was a geocache right there at the Miller Brewery tour. And I think I might be able to tell you. Let's see. I'm going to try to keep talking. Tell you what GC code is that Miller tour. Yes, pretty old. The cache is called LPS008, and the GC code for the Miller High Life or Miller tour is GC1, E as in elephant, B as in boy, A as in apple. This is a cache that was hidden July 21st, 2001. So this cache was over 25 years old. It's amazing. The description really cracks me up. It says, "This is a commercial cache. A liquid cache at the end of the trail. Be sure to show up Monday through Saturday during the day. Kids are allowed. They have alternative samples to try for kiddies. Enjoy. The cache activities start here. You'll have to follow the trail. A guide will direct you," basically the tour, "to the end. And at the end lies 3 to 4 containers with golden contents. So it was a geocache with some golden contents. So that's a little update. Did not want to leave you with 2 more weeks without the Treasures of Our Town podcast. So yes, this is a little bit different. We miss Craig, but we will be back on track in 2 weeks. But I hope you enjoy some of my insights and some of my travel log of me doing the West Bend Cache Bash, which was now 2 weeks ago. All right. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.